Hi. Okay. Lately, I have been having this feeling. Oh my gosh, that sounds just like Lately by Stevie Wonder and Jodeci. Anyway, The Matrix is definitely one of my favorite films. I even remember that I saw it much later than the rest of my family and friends. And I think I was at one of my relatives' house and they were like, "What? You haven't seen The Matrix?" And just like put it on right then and there. Okay. So, to people in the truther community, that movie definitely holds a special place in their hearts for obvious reasons. And one of the quotes that I recently heard that I'll probably never forget is someone said, "The Matrix was not science fiction, it was a documentary." And that really stuck with me. That's probably a quote I'll never forget. So a lot of people have seen that movie and they're just like, yeah, it was interesting. It was good, lots of action, excitement, special effects. It was really one of the first of its kind to have like those really intense special effects that we've never seen before. Personally, I think it's like one of the movies that was like a trailblazer in the special effects CGI arena. I felt like after that movie, and then Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I think it's like movies in general just kind of took their action scenes to like the next level. But yeah. Truthers, however, kind of view that movie in a more different light. And basically, obviously, of course, Red Pill is now a part of American, common vernacular, thanks to that movie in large part. But a few other reasons as well. And so once you start to like awaken and having your like aha moments and stuff, and you've seen the film, you definitely constantly think about it here and there. Some people probably more than others, but most of the people I know definitely do and use many references from it, such as like Agent Smith and stuff like that. And this is out to all my fellow truthers out there. I've just been wondering, I'm thinking like, are we truthers who are living in this reality right now, are we just as strong as Neo? Are we stronger than Neo? And I think for the most part, those of us who have taken the red pill, as hard as it is to swallow, and for the most part, we're committed. It's like that movie They Live. It's a great 80s movie, but it's, even though it's from the 80s, it's like someone was, waking up even back then. Once you start to see things through a clear lens, it's impossible to go back. And just like Q Anon has said, like, those who know can't sleep. There's just so much going on that you see with open eyes, like clear 20/20 vision, and you honestly, like, it's like you can't unsee it. So I just wanted to bring up some points, just a few, of why I believe that in today's day and age, that truthers right now at this moment are even more strong than Neo. I did not take notes. I should have. But anyway, maybe I'll come back and do a part 2 for this when I've taken notes. This is kind of impromptu. All right, first reason. Neo has a really specific figure, Morpheus, that kind of helps guide him through the awakening process, okay? It's like a mentor, kind of like best friend, kind of fatherly, paternal figure, whatever you want to call it. But it's kind of like, not that he's there to hold his hand. He definitely has to experience a lot on his own as well, especially after he returns to the Matrix after exiting it for the first time to, complete the work that he has to do. But for the most part, like the early part of his awakening, he has Morpheus there. And most of us, we may have may have one person that's kind of like that mentor in the awakening, but for a lot of us, we don't. We really mostly just have online communities and maybe newsletters and things like that. Obviously, there's books out there to read, and there are a few documentaries. But for the most part, I mean, even though the Great Awakening is definitely happening at rapid speed, it's spreading like, wildfire. God bless California right now. Sorry, not the best choice of words, but anyway. But we all know that's directed energy weaponry anyway. But back to the task at hand. Sorry, sometimes my ADD kicks in. We don't really have like this figure that just kind of came down to us and was like, okay, there's something I got to tell you, like, or kind of like you're about to learn some things or experience some things that may be a little troubling or disturbing, and I'm here for you, to hold your hand until you're a big boy and you can walk the walk yourself. Some of us who are like blessed to have significant others or maybe best friends or someone close to them physically, in their home or in their community, like a friend nearby or maybe a group, that is awesome. But just know that at this point, that is very rare for a lot of people. Appreciate that. Definitely take advantage of that. Do like community networking and not only just give each other support, but just continue to help, reach out, and, creative ways of like art and stuff like that. And, web pages, accounts, YouTube channels, whatever. But for the most part, most of us do not. And makes it quite lonely at times for us, especially when we're the only one around a bunch of people who are unawake, and we have to hear them say things like, oh, I wish Hillary Clinton had won, or when you talk about child trafficking and human trafficking and the epidemic it is, they're kind of just like looking at you like, you're making this out to be bigger than it is, or it's not your job to be concerned with that, even though you feel like you want to help fight it, whatever. Okay, you have someone right there in the flesh who is, your confidant companion, and they know, like, when you think about things like adrenochrome, like, you might need a minute, you might have to sit down and try to get your focus back or whatever, you can just vent with them if you need an Agent Smith. Which brings me to my next point. Unlike Neo, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to do other parts to this. This is just a part one. And God, if you haven't seen The Matrix, please. I just met somebody who is awakened and she hadn't, and it was really hard not to prejudge her. Like, girl, what are you waiting for? Don't you know that's like the truth? There's Bible, like. But no, I'm not talking bad to you. I've only actually seen the first one. I haven't even seen the second and third one, but from what I heard, the third one was not all that great. But again, I don't always just blindly trust, movie reviews. Half the time, I think they're wrong anyway. So I will eventually see the second and third one, but the first one, definitely a must see. Definitely. I'm not going to talk about the Wachowski brothers or Wachowski sisters, rather. Just gonna thank them, appreciate them for their visionary classic piece of artwork that they did there. But yeah, I think I was talking about Agent Smith. I told you I get off on a tangent. Adult ADHD, goodness. I'll kind of, I guess, just combine these two. Basically, Agent Smith and the fact that when Neo exits the Matrix, he goes back for just periods of times. It's not like, he goes back and he has to stay and he's doing all this, work to try to help change the world for the better and kind of wake other people up a little bit, basically save the world. on his own. There's a team that he has, that he's on, that they're all doing this together, accomplishing this, which is great. It's wonderful. It's exciting. But again, there are many of us who kind of, like, our team may be like a Facebook group, you know, or maybe, like, I don't know, a message board we like to visit, or, you know, there's a certain YouTube channel that really we feel a connection to the content creator, especially if they have chats and stuff, that kind of thing. Most of us, you know, there's not like a way for us to permanently step out. The only kind of temporary removal that we can do of ourselves from the matrix is kind of like, I guess, at night when we sleep, when we rest, right? When we're researching, being citizen journalists and discovering things, finding out truths of things, and spreading them is kind of a little bit escapism, because, you know, you're helping to contribute to the end. You know, these horrible things coming to an end and change once and for all. And yeah, that's pretty much basically it. We have to go back into our matrix. We don't have like this like little other side where it's kind of like, okay, this is the side for everybody who's already awakened. At least not in the physical. Spiritually, yes, because this is a spiritual warfare. But in the physical, it's not like we can all like drive to this state where everybody there is awakened and we can take turns leaving. And no, it's not like that. You're still immersed within the matrix. Okay. And that's why I think it takes so much more strength and willpower. Most of us have nothing but Agent Smiths all around us. And it's not to say that they intentionally try to give us a hard time or discourage us. It could be very well-meaning people, friends, family members, coworkers, whatever. But they definitely, because you're usually in the minority, when you try to share, like drop little truth bombs and things, they definitely kind of, what's the word, aren't as very receptive as, say, maybe they would be if it was like the situation where Neo was brought out to the Matrix and introduced to the other people who had been red pilled. You get me? Like, it's basically Neo back in the Matrix with not even a whole bunch of Agent Smiths, but just people who have not been red pilled, still blue pilled. You know? And then we have, I cannot remember his name. I apologize. But we all know this character. He's the one who betrayed everyone, wanted to go back into the Matrix, you know, did a deal with them on the other side who were running the Matrix, and just became an infiltrator, tried to start, like, it's terrible. And that's how I feel when we find out that some of the people who were our favorite truthers may be shills or controlled opposition, you know, and then we find out, God forbid, maybe they were just working for, you know, the other side, which is kind of deep, dark, scary. Luckily, I haven't had too much experience with it as far as the people that, you know, the alternative media sites that I follow, YouTube channels and web pages and stuff like that. But when it happens, it's heartbreaking, and we hope and pray and believe in our hearts that ultimately they won't be successful. They won't win. They're still going to go down. But it's probably because they could not handle the pressure. They weren't as strong, you know, as we are, as Neo was, to continue fighting the fight, even though you're in the minority and the battle's literally just begun. And again, back to the whole Agent Smith's point, you know, whether well-intentioned, well-meaning or not, there are people constantly, just the people who aren't awake, who have not been red-pilled, and many of them genuinely believe, like, oh my goodness, like, you've been misled, you know, maybe they're thinking, oh, you've been brainwashed, or what, you don't pay attention to the news because you kind of don't want to live in reality, and this is what's going on, or things like that. Kind of like they might think you're like brainwashed or whatever, or drink some Kool-Aid, kind of like how you think they are. The irony, I swear, you have to laugh to keep from crying. But most people, when they speak to you, they are genuinely believing what they're saying, even if there's an ounce of them that thinks that some of what you have said or shared, which of course we're doing in small dosages. We're not the first time talking to somebody about the truther movement, talking about adrenochrome, right? We're talking about, more lighthearted, easy or to swallow things like the Mandela effect, or, the GMO situation and the Monsanto bear lawsuits, or maybe vaccines. That's a really touchy one. That one will really bring out the Agent Smith in people. And maybe these shootings, just ask them what they think about them. Don't so much just tell them they're false flags. All of them, because all of them aren't, but many of them are, obviously. Kind of just, be empathetic, be an empath. We're all hurting from them, unless you're a person that just had to like shut yourself off as a defense mechanism, coping mechanism, compartmentalized. Just don't think about it. It's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If we ignore it, how can we help it? Stop. How can we help the situation get better? But if we do think about it, we run the risk of thinking about it so much that it just horribly depresses us. So most people, they don't mean harm. And then you do have the people who are pretty much almost downright like textbook Agent Smiths from the film. They are very combative. If you say, this has been proven, this is what's in vaccines, okay? The mercury that they took out of our thermometers, or said it's important not to chew the thermometer because it'll break, it's poisonous, that's in vaccines. Glyphosate, the ingredient that is in Roundup and many other products, but this product that Amir just won a multi-million-dollar class action suit for, because it leads to cancer and many other ailments as well. If you watch the documentary, What's with Weed on Netflix, you'll see. But worst of all, cancer. This man who used it daily, he was a groundskeeper for a school, I believe, dying because of his daily use of Roundup. He wore gloves. Water didn't come through the gloves, but the glyphosate and the Roundup did. Things like that, not like heavy things like, let me tell you about what the Clintons really do over in Haiti. Not yet. You got to build to that. But yeah, sometimes you may get a person, maybe a person with autism and their child has autism. Personal story here. And just the mention of not doing the vaccines probably just burns and stings, like no pun intended, like a needle, a knife, just to tell somebody who has autism and or their child does. It's not like you're trying to make them feel guilty for causing it. Like, you did this to your child. They didn't do it intentionally. But if you mention any of those things, even if you're in your most like calm, composed, laid back demeanor, being really receptive of what they have to say and listen to them talk and vent, they still may start calling you horrible, horrific names, insulting you, saying that, what's wrong with you? Why do you think our government would do that? Whatever, drop a couple of F-bombs and S-bombs, like what happened to me. Luckily, it was just on my online blog, and it wasn't someone in the flesh. But, that will happen a lot. If you maybe start mentioning points about gun control, maybe give an analogy like, yes, guns kill a lot of people, but so does driving and texting for teens. Are we going to say no one can have a car or a phone? Like no teen should drive or or have a phone, because many of them do, or, stuff like that. And ironically, I just read in one of the recent shootings, I think it was a church one in one of the Carolinas or the Southeast, it was actually, the gunman was actually halted or whatever, intercepted by an NRA member, a gun-carrying NRA member, but definitely mainstream media won't be plastering that everywhere. So I'm not going to get too deep into my thoughts about gun control. In short, I don't think one person should have military-style weaponry, okay? But I do believe we should be able to have handguns to protect ourselves, just as that gentleman in that church was able to do against that, alleged shooter, the mass murderer. But yeah, our Agent Smiths, they can really get to us, okay? Definitely. Probably one of the most difficult parts about being awake and being in the Matrix. So in conclusion, because I don't want this one to go on for like 30 or 40 minutes, but I just wanted to just, give some encouragement, put some encouragement out there to my fellow truthers. Like, unlike Neo kind of being able to remove himself and be in like a close, safe group where people were also red-pilled and awakened and knew the truth, most of us kind of were like Neo, still in the Matrix. Like, maybe he has like one person far away or whatever that he could see on special occasions who they can communicate, give support to, but it's more or less like we're definitely still in the Matrix. And obviously your mind is what changes first. Once you realize stuff, you start waking up. That begins the ascension and the collective consciousness coming together. But that's some other like Zen vibe, love and light stuff. Very different day, which I'm not as heavy into as truther community. It's good to learn about meditating and stuff and how that helps, like how prayer does. But so just don't be so hard on yourself when you get really depressed and discouraged. Just remember what a warrior you are, how strong you are. It can get hard, but regardless of whether or not you like the Wachowski brothers / sisters, I think they definitely were used by a higher power to send this most powerful message. Very, very, very powerful message. I think even in ways that they don't even understand the significance of. So, yes, we're in the Matrix, but you know what? There are more of us in the Matrix starting to wake up. And eventually we will be to the point where we can safely begin to exit. Not only exit, but help change the Matrix from the inside out. There are a lot of people who believe in things like reincarnation and timelines and, the spirituality of a person kind of choosing what they're going to do when they come to Earth and their like assignment and all that. It's kind of new to me. I like some of the concepts, but I haven't really researched it as much as other things to see how I solidly feel. But these people are very into, astrology, numerology, and sacred geometry and stuff. And I am starting to become very much more open to the theory of reincarnation. I could even post some cool links about things that I've seen, documentaries and whatnot. But yeah, if you believe that, then just know that you're a warrior and you volunteered to fight this fight. You have such a heart for your fellow citizens, even the Agent Smiths, that you want to fight for justice. We don't want to be slaves anymore. And the worst kind of slave you are is the slave that doesn't even realize that they're a slave. There are good parts to waking up. You find out about 0 point energy and so many other things that could help change the entire globe for the better. Things that could solve a multitude of the issues going on in our world today. But it's still difficult. So just be strong for each other, with each other. Whenever you're out there and you kind of want to drop a little bit of the truth about a subject or issue, expect, resistance. And if you do have somebody that kind of is like, hey, I want to hear a little bit more about what you were saying, it's wonderful. Even if it's only like one person out of every 20 people you talk to. Or you may meet somebody who can teach you some things, even if, they may not be technically as awake as you, and it can be how you can help red pill them. Or you may meet somebody who has even a little bit more knowledge and experience about the Matrix than you do. But either way, just continue to have faith. We are making progress. Realize how strong you are. What an honorable, upstanding, patriotic citizen you are. How much this world needs you right now. All right. Ciao, Bella. Have a good day.